Hello and welcome to Collaboratory, the show where Mike Morris improvises an animatic with a little help from our audience, and we learn about the craft of storyboarding along the way. Mike, how are you today?
I'm all right. How are you? I just got over a nice night of being sick, so if I'm a little slow today, please forgive me.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you're feeling better. I'm doing good today. I wasn't expecting to be hosting Collaboratory, but I always enjoy the show. And
We're
if you're
so
watching
glad
us live, yeah, man, it's really good to be back. If you are joining us live, you have an important job. You need to type in prompts to guide what Mike Morris draws. And Mike, what kind of prompts are we looking for?
So same thing again. We're looking for characters, preferably two. Sometimes we do more. A setting and a conflict for those characters in that setting.
Right, so characters would be things like who was in the scene. What are some characters that we featured in the past?
So we've done a lot of different ones over. This is now our 33rd episode, which is really exciting. Let's see. Last time we did Thanksgiving guests, and we had 6 characters, which is probably one of the most that we did. And there was a sort of a cliffhanger whodunit mystery of who stole the turkey, and everyone was pointing fingers at one another. So there was a family of 3 and 3 guests of questionable integrity.
So that leads us into our second category, the setting, right? The setting you said was like a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, it was just a home, and a Thanksgiving dinner was all set out. Everybody was getting ready, and all that good stuff. So,
right, and the conflict in that case too was like who stole the turkey.
Yes, the conflict was who stole the turkey. It was a fun one. And, we have replays on YouTube. If you missed the last one, you can go find it on YouTube or on our Twitch channel, which is where, if you're watching live, you are now.
Yeah. While we're talking, like, Mike, why are conflicts important? Why is it important to have a conflict in a story?
Well, conflict is what drives modern storytelling and old storytelling. I mean, it's what drives storytelling in the first place. It makes things interesting. If you had a story about 2 guys, sitting on a couch playing video games for an hour, there's nothing that an audience can really hang their hat on and watch. It's like, oh,
I think I've read the webcomic.
Huh?
I think I've read the webcomic.
Oh yeah. 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 I mean, you can do stuff like that, but usually there is a conflict of some kind that arises, whether it's just a difference of opinion or whether something comes out of the video game and they're like, oh my gosh, now we have to run for our lives. Like that, there's still a conflict there. If there's no conflict, they're just playing video games and nothing happens. And so, who wants to watch that?
And while we're waiting for prompts, let's talk a little bit about productions. So the previous episode, we were talking about like cutout animation and like how that could impact the storyboarding process. This week, we're talking about traditional animation and how that might influence choices. So, Mike, just broadly, like, what are your opinions on like the differences between storyboarding for cutout and traditional animation? And do you have a lot of experience on either types of show?
I have more experience with hand-drawn animation for sure. Cutout animation, yes. I'm currently on a cutout animation show, but hand-drawn animation is where I started, and it's really, really traditional animation is what I love. So it's exciting whenever I get to do some of that. It's I feel like. Since I was sort of raised on those more traditional animation shows, I guess, when I was little, my grandma bought a VCR, which was kind of a big deal at the time. And she bought us a bunch of old Disney movies to watch. And I was just enthralled by those. And, still the animation holds up to this day as far as the technical expertise and the artistic expertise involved. And it's just really, really charming. I feel like hand-drawn animation is, I don't want to say one of the purest forms, because there is no pure form and not. But it's one of my favorites just from the way it flows and the way it operates. I just really love it.
All right, we've got some suggestions. We've got a talking Christmas tree. That might have been influenced by the image on the screen. We've got Sauron on his day off. And we've got a 1940s businessman.
1940s businessman and a talking Christmas tree. Sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, I think Sauron's a little bit out there.
Sauron, I don't know. Maybe we can have. There's something that we can do there. I think I might need to look up some reference of Sauron. But
isn't he kind of disembodied, or is it just an eye?
Oh, I have an idea. Okay, let's get an interior of a shop.
We've also got a couple suggestions for locations. We've got a fast food restaurant from the 1990s. We've got an Amway train, and we've got a secret underground lair.
What was the second one?
An Amway train.
Amway train. That's going to be an interesting thing for a talking Christmas tree. Let's see here. So I'm thinking Amway train would be kind of interesting to have on here. I think one of the things that I love about this show here on Collaboratory is that we can be unabashedly silly, and we don't have to worry about it. So let's see here. Let's have. It's been a while since I've been on an Amway train. I'll just be honest about that. But I think I can cover the gist of it. So let's put some seats in here. And get some semblance of a perspective going on. One of the things that I always like to espouse on things that I do is just using some of the built-in tools. And one of those, one that I like, is the perspective guides. So if you've never used any of the perspective guides, you should, because they're awesome. And this one, I think all we really need is a one-point perspective. And one of the things that you can do to try and track that better is just, it's splayed out right here, and you see like all the perspective lines that you could need right all in there.
Yeah. So now, Mike, why is it important for like a storyboard to have really good perspective?
I think it just solidifies the art itself. It's just good art, and whatever you put in the board is going to be in the final, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing something that is worthy of well, I don't want to say worthy. I should say you need to have something that is able to be interpreted by a third party.
In the case of like a storyboard panel with like scenery, it's going to be interpreted by the layout department and backgrounds, as well as the character animators, right?
Yes. And these are the people that you want to make everything crystal clear for, right? So as much as you can do it, you should. So let's just get a little perspective line down here, and so we can have our points right here. All right. So, and then let's put in some seats. Sometimes we can just, whoops, accidentally selected everything, which we don't really want. Let's do that, and then a nice separation line. And we're going to keep this still pretty rough. and make a luggage compartment, and then windows would be down more eye level so people can look out the windows.
So do you think this is going to be a very populated train, or do you think it'll just be 2 characters on a mostly empty train?
That's what I'm thinking, because I don't want to draw a bunch of other characters. Not if I can help it. Okay, now you notice that the perspective on this is a little bit off center. I'm not doing it right on the smack middle of everything, but I think I can still sort of use this side over here on the other side. So I'm going to select by color. I'm just going to grab the darker lines, and I'm going to copy it and paste it. And then over here in the operations, I'm just going to flip it and then line up my door where it needs to be. And then after just going to scoot that over a little bit too. Okay. Then as just a little trick, I can just grab some of this stuff over here, forgetting about the initial rough lines, and just stretch it.
Looks good.
And then you have to clean up a couple things here and there. For the most part, you're good to go. We'll put in some. We'll turn off our guide right here for a sec, and then have some of these nice rounded edges that you would see on a train. Maybe some extra window stuff. And then, a little scoop on the top. Baggage. We're not going to make a big deal out of that. Every train's got baggage.
Everybody has baggage.
Yep. All right, so here we go. Let's fix this door that's a little bit off center now, and have it be a little bit more on center. Okay. Then we'll have this little door, the frosted glass, and we'll just get rid of all these other lines. But I kind of like it. Let's just leave them. Okay, but we will get rid of the ones that are like right here. Cool. All right, there we got our train. Now let's have somebody enter, and I'm just gonna copy this one, and I'm gonna separate it into a new scene. Since this is all vector drawing with a little bit of a bitmap texture on it, what I'm gonna do is just zoom in onto here. We'll enter our businessman. I'm gonna copy. Actually, no, I'm gonna do a new shot. No, I'm gonna copy it. Change my mind. And then this, I'm just also gonna copy from the BG layer. Copy, and then I'm gonna paste it on layer C. And then on layer B, I'm just gonna pop in a silhouette really quick with, I'm gonna turn on my fill in button right here. What's the proper name for that? I just call it the fill in button.
That's a good question. Let me take a look. I think it might be autofill.
Autofill, yeah. I'm just gonna grab autofill. I should start calling everyone that I know named Phil autofill now.
Autophilip.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Now we got somebody walking up. So we can even take this, duplicate it, and do a little trick here where we will shrink this down and make it like a little lighter. So we can see somebody approaching like so.
It is autofill.
It's autofill. All right, now we have on the C layer that door, right? So we can open it like this, or just go straight to the perspective tool and just start messing around with vectors because we can. And vectors are awesome.
It's always good to get a new perspective on things.
It is, And then I can just get rid of all this other stuff that I don't need on the BG layer. Generally, if we were going to do this in a more professional setting, we would have everything separated out properly. But right now, we're just bootstrapping this board up together. So you don't need to worry about that as much.
So from the silhouette, I'm thinking either we've got the businessman or we've got Sauron.
We got businessman.
Okay.
We got businessman, and he's tired. Let's just get a smaller brush for him. Since he's from the 40s.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Real Willy Loman type of figure.
Let's give him some wispies up here for hair. I'm going to turn off my autofill. Just don't need it right now.
Got like a tie, right?
Yeah, for sure. We'll just give him some sideburns too, just for fun. A nice double chin. He'll look like Bill Murray's brother.
Okay. Bob Murray.
No, I don't think he goes by Murray. He goes by something else. He's been on a ton of movies and shows and stuff.
Who's that actor who looks kind of like Matt Damon?
No. He's kind of
not him. No, but I'm just thinking like there are actors who like look like other actors, but they're not that actor. Clemens, right?
He was the mayor of Puxatawny in the Groundhog Day. He was the one that he saves from choking on a steak.
Nice.
Let's see. Let's get that hand in there so we can see like a briefcase.
So, chat, we need you to chime in. What is this man selling? Probably has to fit in a briefcase.
It's probably something mundane like life insurance or something. And we're just going to move this layer up above C. We don't need to really worry about the legs so much. It's just habit. Since he's in a shot that really doesn't show his legs. And we'll just do one more of him. Having him come into the cabin a bit more.
It's always a very effective technique, too.
Thanks, man.
You know, it's quick, but it shows the motion and it conveys a lot.
Yeah, and again, if you have a little bit of animation skill behind you, I mean, your boards are really going to sing because, you know, in recent years, and we've talked about this on the show a little bit before, in recent years, we've seen a lot of stuff involving, you know, things that used to be separate jobs in the digital age are now all combined into one sort of thing. So this would be kind of a character layout situation in a normal, well, in like one of the older methods of operation. But now it's, you know, more along the lines of just standard operating procedure is mixing character layout and story into storyboards. So let's get a new BG in here. We'll do a short pan. I'm gonna get my one of my marker brushes out and just drop in some quick stuff. Let's just put in some seats. Sorry, my computer's chugging a little bit today.
Sometimes live stream will do that.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so let's get this color here, and we'll, you know, fill it out a little bit. We'll fill it out with autofill. I think this guy's name should be Phil now.
Yeah.
Phil, the 1940s businessman.
He sells auto insurance.
Yeah. Auto insurance, because he's autofill.
That's what they call him.
Then I'm just going to take this, copy and paste it, and then just move it forward. You know, sometimes if you want, you can change these little bits and bobs that you put on there, but it doesn't really matter. Let's put this right here, and then we'll do the camera move.
The old Hanna-Barbera scenery trick.
Yeah. They definitely used a lot of tricks.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it gets the job done.
It gets the job done, and that's what's important a lot of the time, is just making sure that you do get the job done. You know, and to that point, you know, there's something to be said for being a person that, you know, that people know can get the job done. You know what I mean? Like when you're working in a professional environment, and this is for anything. This is for anything. Like people, you will develop a reputation around, you know, in your career. And you know, I've worked with animators before who I would, you know, love to work with again. In fact, I'm working with a friend again on a little project who I worked with on a previous project. And it's like, I'll have that guy as an animator on my crew any day of the week, because I know his capability as an animator and the fact that he's reliable. You know, that's always a big thing. And you know,
yeah, it is its own skill set too. I mean, it's not always easy to just get things done quickly and be communicative, but it makes things easier for everybody else.
And I mean, and let me clarify. I had a friend who was going to come on the show earlier today. And that's not a dig at him. That's just that you know, is something that I've observed over, you know, what I would consider a fairly, you know, good span in my career.
I hear you.
He popped on the stream for a minute. Maybe we should just bring him on just for funsies, and we'll have 3 people on here talking.
I would like that. I think we're trying to figure out how to do that, because the way that it's set up, we need to bring them into OBS and have it all work.
Okay. Well, so if we can do it, great. If we can't, then, you know, bummer. But he's a friend of mine that I worked with on The Simpsons that I always found particularly fun.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, good stuff. And again, don't be afraid when you're doing background works like this to just reuse stuff. You know, this is boards. This isn't design. You don't need to be, you know, that interesting in boards. You just have to be able to do something that people can recognize and be clear with your communication. All right, let's go up to B, and then we'll do a little side shot of him. Here, I'm just going to move this and zoom in so I can draw him a little easier. He's going to be our hero autofill.
Intrepid autofill.
I don't know, with these sideburns, he might either be from like Imperial England or the 70s, maybe not so much the 40s.
Truly a man of mystery.
I know. Really? Really, really. Okay. All right, since we don't need to show the legs on this, producers and animation companies love it when you don't show the legs, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to animate walk cycles. They can just bob them up and down.
The old Muppet walk.
Yeah. Who needs to see the legs if you don't have to? Cinematically, it's not really that important to see the legs unless, that's the focal point of the scene. The focal point of this scene is not necessarily showing the walking. It's showing him, a little tired and beat down. So I think, we're going to take this drawing here and we're just going to hunch him over just a little bit more. He's just tired. He wants to sit down. Make sure that we convey that subtext.
It's amazing how just changing the posture really changes the way that you look at the character.
Yeah, it really does. And that's where your gesture drawing comes into place. So if any of you are wondering why you still go to figure drawing, that's why. All right. And we are going to stretch that out a little bit. Actually, you know what? We're just going to chop it up because we have our camera set. We're not necessarily going to be scrubbing through this in a real time way. So we'll just have him walking through. And then when he gets to the chair here, we'll just have him turn his body. And then we'll add another frame, in which case we'll take this camera frame off right here, or that camera keyframe. And then he'll just sort of collapse down into the chair. Our fun autofill. I'm so tired. And it's not going to be a pretty drawing at all.
We could use an auto mat on autofill.
Yeah, we could. Let's finish it up and we'll do the auto mat. Kind of looks like Gru there. I don't want that.
It kind of does.
And again, posture is important, so we're gonna dink around with this posture a little bit. Give him more slouchy, more tired. He looks cramped. Make him look forward because he's really got nothing to look at right now. And then he'll hear something off stage. Be like, yeah, I hear you, buddy. It's a rough world out there. And we're going to drop a keyframe after we give him a little bit of a look. He looks slightly behind him.
Like, oh, it's been a rough week. It's only Wednesday.
Yeah. And actually, we're going to save that keyframe for a second. Let's do another keyframe. Well, not yet. Because we have to perk him up and widen his eyes.
I'm so surprised.
And then we'll do a classic reveal. So you want to make sure that in your boards you break things up into more manageable pieces, right? So you don't want to put everything all in one panel so nobody knows what they're looking at. You know? And in this case, we need to do another row of seats. So we're just going to grab these seats that we have right here already. And I have to select them because they're all on the same layer. Most of the time, you'd put these all in separate layers. But again, we don't have a ton of time on this stream, so we have to make concessions where we need to. And then we're going to put that on this layer. Boom. Make sure that we put them in something of a proper perspective, right? So honestly, we should have them down. So let's do that really quick. We're going to take this layer of seating here, and instead of having the perspective go up, we're going to have it go down a little bit. I think that might be just selecting these individually and putting them down like this. All right. Again, we're not going for pretty, but we're going for usable. Design works on pretty. We work on story.
So for the actual camera move, this would be something like a rack focus almost.
You could rack focus. I mean, that's not unheard of. But I don't think we want to lose the surprise on this guy's face, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we will not rack focus. Rack focus is really helpful when you are shifting attention. So if something is no longer necessarily super important to see at that particular moment in time, then you can rack focus and have that be awesome. The problem is when people rack focus and they don't know why they're racking focus. They're just doing it because they think it's a cool cinematic trick. Like, it is. It's a cool cinematic trick for sure. But, like, when we're working on stuff like this, are you a magician or are you a story artist? You know?
That's a very fair point.
You have to know what your tools are and why you're doing it, not necessarily just because you can do it. You know, just because you can doesn't mean you should. If we learned nothing from Dr. Ian Malcolm, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay, let's copy that. And now we have something that is in a perspective that is a bit more palatable, right? So we have this, and we can scoot those to where we feel like the seats kind of match up a bit better. All right, and then on layer D, actually what we're going to do is we're going to take this here, these front ones, and make those an overlay. And then we'll do Christmas tree right here. Star on top, star.
I like the touch of him just sort of being like bumped up against the ceiling there. That's good.
And then everything's sort of drooping.
So chronologically, does this take place before Christmas or after?
I don't know. What does the audience think? Is this pre or post Christmas? Let's do a little fill there. Not autofill, but the paint bucket. All right. So now one thing about when you do autofilling is that you have to close off all your shapes. So in this case, since it's not really important that we see anything below there, I'm just going to, cut that off a little bit and just encapsulate what I need so the feature works properly.
All right. Who let the dogs out on Twitch is saying this is pre-Christmas?
Pre-Christmas. Okay. So you don't need to duplicate that drawing. Oh no, I think I've been drawing on the wrong layer this whole time. Oh no. So we need to go back and cut and paste. Because again, we need to have things on the right layers. Layer management, people, that's super important.
And for those who haven't seen this before, what is the purpose of an automat?
An automat is just so you're not having to see through the characters. But we'll show that very shortly. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to do this. I'm going to Control Shift and then or Command Shift on a Mac. And then I have all my layers selected after I go from the front one to the back one. And then I'm going to go to Layer and Generate Automat and give it a radius. It's like how close or how loose you want this to be. And I'm going to do Create Mat on New Layer. We don't necessarily want to select the newly created layer. And push OK. Now, when we go back, we see that autofill has mostly filled up. So in this case, I'm just going to do a quick little thing with the autofill feature, not autofill the character. You have to make sure that you close off your line. So generally good to start in a significantly easy to see place.
Yeah.
Like this bottom corner. Oh, and you got to turn autofill on. That's usually helpful when trying to use autofill. Okay, there we go. And now, since that I didn't do the draw behind, I'm just going to cut and paste that over.
Yeah, now, one good thing about using vector art is that it's really easy to move things around.
Yes. Whoops. All right, so we're going to come back here, and I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to replace it. I'm going to delete and paste. So now we have him like this, and now that we have the tree, we're just going to do a little bit of a thing there. I hear you, buddy. And I think now we're just going to do a close on the tree. Let's get texture brush. And we'll do the seat in front right here. I think he should be like running away because he knows that it's futile, that he'll just be dead anyway. So he's going to live his last moments free There's a free tree. Or maybe he's like secretly an ent and they just don't understand. It's like they dressed me up like this. I'm from a magical forest, dang it. And here they want to
somehow come around back to Sauron then.
Yeah. I personally think that he should have an ornament on him that of particular significance.
Can we get suggestions for ornaments in the chat?
Oh, I have a suggestion for an ornament already. Don't worry about that. I've got that one.
Okay.
You'll like this ornament.
Is it the Christmas pickle?
No, it's not. It's just to put a couple of lines here just to know that there's the back of the train.
Yeah.
So just be complaining like, where I'm from, they actually respect the trees for the most part.
I think I said Amway earlier. I believe it's Amtrak. Amway,
Yeah,
I think,
Amtrak.
is a multi-level marketing company.
Oh, yeah. yeah, they are.
All right, well, good to know. They're not doing trains.
I had some friends back in high school. Their parents sold Amway.
Oh, yeah.
And they were always like, oh, yeah, look at all this stuff we've got. It's so cool. Okay, so he's just kind of sitting there. Yeah, I got out of a bad situation. He doesn't necessarily need to have eyes. But we have to get them, make sure that they're on the right layers. So clip that, select by color, and pop it into the right layer. Again, layer management, folks, it's a thing. And then we'll sort of fake like he's looking at the other guy. Since he doesn't necessarily have any eyes, just bushy furrows for brows. And then we can cut back to here. Oh, another thing I was going to do is do this. Go to the background. And I'm going to share drawing. I'm just going to copy that. And then over these other ones that still have the old background, I'm just going to paste them over. Override existing layers once hold. Okay. So now we have everything on the right layers. And just for good measure, we'll duplicate that panel in its current camera position. And this would be somewhere where you would multiplane things in with the layering tool, but we're not going to do that today.
I think if you're animating this, it'd be really fun to do a bunch of secondary animation on the little baubles jingling around.
Oh, for sure. And I when it comes to hand-drawn animation, especially if you're doing something like this in Harmony, there's no reason why you can't mix and match with, doing stuff in a cutout way and doing stuff in a hand-drawn way. Like, I know that, if you had a bunch of these ornaments and stuff, you can just have those as an asset and set a rotation point, like right here. Like if I was to do this, set the rotation point, and just have it pivot like that. And, that's why you always need to be cognizant of what, what the end product is going to be for your animation, whether it's going to be cut out or hand drawn or what. But there's no reason to say that you couldn't mix and match it and just go frame by frame anyway, So it's like, yeah, I hear you, buddy. And then you can be like, I got uprooted just a while ago, and now they expect me to just be on display like some kind of jester for their amusement. Can you believe that? And that's when we're going to come over here. And let's just copy this frame right here. I'm just going to move it in between here, which creates a new shot. And then we'll just copy the camera from where we had it before and pop it into here. So it's the same camera. There we go, same camera setup. And it will duplicate that and then go to the first one. We don't need both of these camera keyframes, just need one. And we have our tree, and we'll just have him like up a little bit more. I'm just going to turn him into a light green right here, and then draw over that so we can hook him up.
It's always good to reference previous frames.
Yeah, I mean, usually, you can do it through the onion skin. There's a bunch of other ways you can do it. I kind of prefer this method sometimes because I can have a little bit more control over it a lot of the time. And if there's stuff that I want to use, like ornaments, I can. There's stuff that I want to reuse. You can just grab that and replace it. Not as to change it out, but to place it over again. And then let's just grab our autofill, and we'll just quickly do a mouth. All right. Can you believe that? It's so exhausting. And then we will, let's just take our autofill, the auto insurance salesman, and we'll grab all of these layers. We're going to copy them. Copy selected layers. We're going to come over here, and we're just going to delete all these layers here. Delete the layers. Or we could just do what we did earlier and just copy this. That's probably the easier way. Just paste that. Whoops. To make sure that it's on the right little spot. Now we're gonna just cut in on him right here, and we'll just, you're familiar with the term framing dirty, right?
No, I'm not.
So framing dirty is when you have somebody that's just on the one part of the screen. So we go to our camera view right here. We'll see we have this guy just on a sliver on the side, and that's called framing dirty, because that character isn't like fully in view or in scope. He's just kind of, we see these there.
Get a hint of it.
Yeah, you get a hint of it without having a whole thing like. And then we can see autofill's reaction here. Let's pop into him really quick. We have his initial one to hook up from the last one, and then we have this here. We can have him kind of like looking this guy up and down. Like, I don't know what this is, but I'm kind of freaked out right now. And maybe we can see him hunch up a little bit.
that like brief 5 seconds of what am I looking at?
Yeah. We'll just copy that and then paste it into this next layer. So we have, you know, and we'll just select this too. Lean him forward a little bit. And then I'm just going to duplicate that layer and then delete the old one. We can leave the old one. This guy's like, you know, pouring out his gripes to autofill. Autofill's like, what in the world am I looking at?
The process that you were a talking Christmas tree.
And that's when he gets surprised again. So let's just give him a little bit of a stretch. When he hears a sound, in the black speech of Mordor, we notice a curious ornament on our tree, who just keeps griping like the whole time, you know. And I think we need to do like a branch that's sort of, you know, coming off a little bit.
After all, why not? Why shouldn't I?
Yeah, exactly. Why shouldn't I keep it? This is where you rack focus. This is a classic example of when you should rack focus. What's your best one ring whisper?
Hmm.
I haven't done it in so long. I forgot. I need to watch those movies again.
Yeah. It's been a while for me too.
We'll just put in some very light background stuff. Again, we want to make sure that we're not, you know, composing over things. So it's always a good idea to put the background in a lighter color. Oops. Not like that. So we know a little bit more of where we should be focusing our attention, right? It makes the black lines stand out, and it's kind of a standard amongst, you know, professional board artists these days.
And then you can select by color if you need to.
Yes, exactly. It's a multi-purpose reason to do what you're doing. There's the baggage thing there. Oops. All right. Cool. All right, now we're going to set this up for a rack focus. I'm going to color this this plant in here, and since I'll just cap it off really quick. Sometimes another little trick is if you just do this in a different color. Now, holding down Shift, I can make straight lines like that. And then when I do the automat, I have it keyed to the tilde on my machine because the tilde isn't used. So I figured I might as well use it.
You're not using tilt all the time?
Oddly enough, no.
Okay.
So that should automat it right there. Boom. And then let's just get another color here.
I think using the red for those lines is also really good because you wouldn't mistake those for it being part of the character art.
Exactly. And that's the point of it. All right, let's autofill this. And you know what we could do? Let's just we can put the color in on the second layer. That way we can really embellish that because it's kind of a focal point that we should be looking at a bit more. So we can, make it a little bit fancier. Let's turn off autofill.
Now, do you often use color on boards, or is it only for like specific scenarios, like when you really want to draw attention to something?
I would say it's a more specific scenario type thing. All right. Now, here's what we're going to do is we're going to take these layers and we're going to group them. And so we're going to come in here and group selected layers. And then we're going to come here and group these selected layers. And now what we're going to do is take those layer groups and duplicate them. Duplicate selected layers. So now we have all these layers like that. We're going to turn the original layers off. And then in this group, we are going to merge. Hold on. Merge selected layers. So now it's one layer and one layer. Okay. Then we're going to duplicate this panel. And on this one, we are going to go to layer, apply effect, blur. And let's just do a radius of, let's preview that and see how it looks. Not blurry enough. Let's go to 6, preview that. Nope, not blurry enough still. Let's go to 10 and preview that.
Not 11? Don't want to take it to 11?
Too much. Too much. We got to pull it back. Let's go to 8. Okay, that's just enough. Okay, that's good. No, we're not turning it up to 11.
Okay.
Not yet.
It does go up to 11.
Doesn't go up to 11. And you don't necessarily need to do all of those tricks, like only with really the rack focus layer. So I suppose if you wanted to, you could just keep the vectors on the one that's not the focus right now. And then, you just make sure that the other one is the one that's blurred. Mm-hmm. So layer, let's I'm just going to apply effect, blur. And again, we already know this is going to work. Don't show this message again. But your artwork may be cropped when you have a new bitmap layer. So bitmap layer is based on pixels, right? So you have to be able to deal with that. Mm-hmm. All right. And so this one, we can just take this group 2 up here. We can delete that since we don't need it. Keep that as the vector. And then, so we have this like this. And one of the things that we can do, it's kind of a trick that I like to do sometimes, just add, let's just duplicate that really quick. I'm just going to copy and paste that straight on the timeline. And then I'm going to do the same on the other one. And then add a transition. So transition will be a crossfade. Nothing super fancy. But then we focus like that. And it gets a little dicey and weird in the middle, but again, this is boards. Yeah. This isn't anything.
It conveys what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And
I think it's a good hack.
Yeah. So I think one other thing that we need to do is just right in the beginning of this, let's let's give him just a little bit of acting on the front side of this.
A bit of a head tilt.
Like he's looking up at the guy. Then he notices something. And then his eyes go like a little bit wider. I know his eyes are going to be bulging out of his head before too much longer.
Didn't they get bigger? But there they go.
And the problem when you change things after the fact with this sort of stuff is that you have to make sure that you're not messing around with too much. Otherwise, you have to redo the whole rack focus part, which we will have to do. So, and if you need to delete a transition, you just delete it like you would normally would. All right, so we have that already done. Now we just need to duplicate this. Actually, I'm just going to take this whole group here. You have to select the individual ones. And we are going to delete this group here. And then paste it. Then this is going to be a rack focus. So then we need to delete this and paste it. Then we need to delete this. And then we need to duplicate this. Turn it off. Take the duplicate. Go back down to merge selected layers. And then layer. Convert, but hold on, sorry, cancel. Layer, apply effect, blur, which will automatically turn it into a bitmap layer. All right, so now we have this. Now we just need to add our transition back in. So we have, and we can shorten that transition should we need to. There's ways you can do it through like opacity changes and stuff because Storyboard 2 or Storyboard 22 has that capacity. But we don't necessarily need to, do that. All right, and now I think we need some eyes here for our friend in his bewilderment. And we'll delete that, and we'll just paste this. And we can just zoom in. Generally, every production is going to have a sort of threshold that you need to hit as far as backgrounds and stuff, because in traditional animation, you only have so much you can do as far as just resolution for backgrounds. So be cognizant of that. When you're setting up shots, extreme things like this are going to need a new background. That background's going to have to do, and then that costs money, and then your producer's like, why don't you use the background that you already had? And then you say, because we need it. And then they'll say, okay, or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth considering what the limitations of the production are.
Yeah, always consider what the limitations of the production are. Because some productions you work on are going to have larger budgets than others. And that's just the way that things work. All right, I'm going to take this, and then he's going to...
Like, do you like working on like productions where that's a bit more of a challenge, like trying to find ways to be economical with backgrounds, or do you enjoy it when you kind of have free reign to do what you want?
Well, I mean, there's always a mixture, Like, it's nice to just be able to do whatever you want and not have to worry about what the production budget's going to be. But let's be honest, there's always going to be a concern about money. There's always going to be a concern about money because no production is limitless. Even, the big budget ones that come out of, the major studios, right? Each one of them has a budget, and they have to stick to it for the most part. I mean, there's some that have gone over, and we've seen a lot of that come out now with some of these modern movies, that they went way over budget, and the returns are not great. So when you're working professionally in animation, it's still a business. Somebody is going to have to pay for this stuff, and it's not you. So they're going to like it if you're looking out for their interests as well as your own. As if you're just out for yourself, in almost any endeavor, that, it sort of makes people less inclined to want to have you back.
I mean, that's also part of being, reliable, being someone who can finish projects.
I think we need to go. Let's do a slow boil here. Whatever it says.
Yeah, trembling hand reaching out.
And then we have the ring here. And I'm just going to use the circle templates. The ellipse template. That. Position that. Now I can just copy and paste this. So my heart skin tip here. Boop, boop. Another little trick, you can just do that for some sort of depth. And it's just there. We'll put that on a separate layer. Let's put it on B. So we're going to put some stuff behind it. And probably blur it out a little bit. Let's make it bigger. Let's do that. And for the one ring, it requires a little bit more effort in the coloring of it. So let's just go back to this other vector layer here, and we will take the colors.
After all, why not?
Why not? That way we can just sample them at our leisure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to auto map this one ring really quick. And then come over here and select this color and, change it into the one that I need. Just add it to our list of colors here, and then I can just go through with my eraser. Get rid of this middle bit.
Looks good.
Thanks. You just add the other color in. And this is where sometimes texture brushes can be handy. I'm just going to get my chonky texture brush here and, fill in some chonky texture. And then we'll get the white so we can put some highlights on it. Maybe a couple little sparklies. Put the sparklies on the layer above the black layer. And then in the BG, we'll just fill it with a color. So I'm going to get my polyline or my rectangle tool out and just draw a rectangle around everything and just fill it with a gray. So my paint bucket and boom. Then the tree underneath it, we're going to just do a little extra auto matte with our chunky brush. Oh, yeah, I turned it on. There we go. All right. And for this, let's just make a duplicate. And we'll turn that one off, and then we'll just blur this other one too. So layer, apply effect, blur. I don't think we need to do as drastic of a blur on this.
No.
So we did before. Let's do 6. That should be fine. So only the one ring matters, right? That doesn't need to be on. So we have him sees the ring, and it talks to him. And he hears it, and he turns his head toward it. And we see it sort of invading his mind. And then, it ever so slightly rocks back and forth. And then this little bit, this sparkly bit, will be over here. And then we can put some other sparkles.
Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, it's just so darn inviting. This golden bauble. We can take that and select this whole bunch of frames. Get our pivot point up here. Swing it the other way. And then put our sparkly bits in other places. You put that right here. Then I think we should add another frame of the tree complaining. Only we don't really hear the audio at all. It's just
indistinct sounds in the background. Whispers getting louder.
An upshot of him. Let's turn the autofill off. If we had more time, we could design this out to be a more of a forced perspective, but we're going to cheat it right now. And I'm just going to turn the perspective tool on, and we're just going to crimp them up like that. So now his view, his whole perspective is distorted by his proximity to the One Ring. The Christmas ornament, One Ring. That's all distorted. We can't have that. So, I'm thinking too, also we should just copy this really quick. And then let's just paste that right here. And we'll paste it again. And then we'll combine this layer into that. And we'll motivate that camera move here. Just delete that. Delete that. Only need the one keyframe, so just delete that. And his view goes from here to here. So the One Ring's tempting him, and then he looks up, and then we see his point of view of the, Charlie Brown-ish. Yeah, as the ring tempts him further.
Yeah.
And we'll just pop some BG in there, just for funsies. The baggage compartment or whatever's up there.
Just a slow pan in.
Yeah, we can do that, sure. Just everything has got the slow pan. We don't even need to have it
zoom,
be
not a
all
pan.
that focus, right? Because he's not focusing on the tree guy himself.
Yeah.
And then we can take this shot, copy that, and then paste it, and just simply reverse the order. He sees the guy, he's yapping away, and I think we can probably just do a couple of mouth shapes here on this guy. Yeah, like he's talking and no one's listening. And I'm just gonna have that autofill for us. Make sure we keep our colors straight. Sometimes it's good, like even if you don't necessarily have something that it's said in the script that should apply to a character, it's always fun to like know in and of yourself like what that character would be saying, and that way you can at least have a better idea of what that character is doing. And he's looking back, and then let's repeat this. And this is where you can really lean on your score, your music, right?
Yeah, you got like singing in Latin in the background.
And then that boom, 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 the beating of his heart or whatever as the thing whispers to him.
Psst, 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 psst.
And we see side shot.
We've got about 5 minutes left.
All right. And if you haven't seen Eric Goldberg's book, Character Animation Crash Course, you really should see it, and get a copy of it, because not only is it a great resource to have, but there's a section called gimmicks, and it's really helpful when you're doing stuff like this, which would be like a trembling hand, Staggers.
No, it's an excellent book.
It's a great book. It's reaching out. Let me see. No, his thumb would be on this side, I think. I don't know. Let me think about it.
Yeah, is it right hand or left hand?
So this would be his hand that he'd be reaching out with. So that, I think, would be a little bit more to where it should be. Hands, you guys, right? Am I right? You got to think about that. Because, I mean, any time you as a board artist break the verisimilitude of what you're doing, in the audience, you never want the audience to be questioning your filmmaking. You know?
Yeah. And, drawing good hand is what separates us from the machines.
It's true. We should get even closer. And then a quick new shot where we have, and we're going to do this in a really, really rough and dirty style, like normally at the last minute drawings we do. We have him reaching out for the ring like this. And the tree guy is like, "What are you doing?" Actually, that'd be the wrong arm.
It has to be a left arm.
Yeah.
That's great.
What are you doing? And he just is like, Then new shot. We have the ring here, the branch. That's when we see autofill is not playing around anymore.
All right, do you want to do a quick run through of the animatic?
Just a bit. I've almost got it. And he jumps, lunges. Ah! And then we just see the train. Go by.
Nice.
into some sort of tunnel. And the tree streams. Ah! All right, here we go. Cool. To the front. Let's pitch this board. All right, we open on an Amtrak train. And who do we have opening up the door? But Auto Phil, our tired auto insurance salesman, who walks to his seat. Let's put the camera view on. He walks to his seat sullenly and slowly and sits down. Glancing next to him after, "Hey, buddy, I hear you." "What?" "Yeah, it's been a rough week for me, too. For some reason, people think that guys like me should be on display every year. You ever have that problem?" "Yeah, well, even if you haven't, it's a rough life." Then he looks at him and is like, "I don't know what to think about this." Looks him up and down, and that's when he hears it. Doom, doom, the heartbeat. And he looks, and we rack focus on an innocent-looking ring, but it speaks to him. And it dangles there ever so slightly, so tantalizing. And he looks up, and the guy's still blathering away. "Why?" And he looks back at the ring, and it's there, and it's tempting him, and it's just right within his grasp. And he reaches out, and all of a sudden, the tree's like, "What are you doing?" That's kind of, ah! And then we hear them screaming as a fight ensues in the train, and it goes through a tunnel.
All right, we got there.
We'll do just
Mike,
one more little thing right here. The train is going to go through.
Amazing.
And the night is as it was before, quiet.
Mike, thank you once again for running the session of Collaboratory. Do you have any projects or topics you'd like to draw our audience's attention to?
Well, I know that there are a few things going on. If you happen across one of those Light the World gift boxes that I see scattered around in various cities, it's a great way to donate to a worthy cause and getting people that are less fortunate something that they would need. And I'm going to give a shout out to our January host, Nick Paris, who's got a book about storyboarding.
Oh, it's awesome. I think I've got a copy.
Yeah, it's really great. It shows a lot of stuff in it, and if you want to see Nick's take on boards, I highly recommend it. It's a really fun book. So yeah, shout out to one of our hosts on Collaboratory.
All right, well, thank you to everyone who joined us for Collaboratory. If you'd like to try your hand at storyboarding, you can download a 21-day trial of Storyboard Pro from our website at toonboom.com. Tomorrow we have a stream featuring Anna Rossi, who will be discussing her career as an animation director and will be taking us through a character rig that she built. And it's a character rig that she applied smear frames and multiples to, which I just find really fascinating.
That's awesome.
If you're interested in the production side, you won't want to miss it, so be sure to tune in next time.
All right. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all the holidays.
All the holidays.
And Happy New Year.